Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on Solomon's Temple. My name is Solomon Izanga Shams. Welcome to another episode, right here where we get to discuss very critical issues. If this is your first time, thank you so much for coming here. People from quite, all over the world. I actually got a message from somebody in the Dominican Republic, right? Now, Dominican Republic is somewhere close to Haiti, close to Haiti, close to the US. They said no, they watch a lot of the episodes that we create here. They actually want us to do some sport and hopefully do some stuff in Spanish and all that kind of stuff, and which is actually quite great. I think the person that got in touch with me is Pedro. They're Spanish speaking. I'm not Spanish speaking. So, but the essence of this is to try to investigate, and it's so good to see that even in another part of the world, we face the same challenges: the challenge of deception, the challenge of lack of integrity, the challenge of lack of truth in the church, by clergies, pastors, prophets, apostles. They're having a field day. And we cannot tolerate that. God has called us to rebuke, to correct, to expose, and to have conversation around this. This is very important for us. So I want to thank everybody for joining me. My guests are just trying to sort out their phone. I'm sure as soon as they sort out, they have a bit of network issue. So please, if we sort of like have any sort of network issue, just be patient with us. This is a story that needs to be told, all the way from Cape Town. So just want to say thank you to some of you guys that are here already. Tosin Kayode, thank you so much. Nicholas Bongani, as usual, thank you. Thank you, Glatzo and Joseph from Kenya. Thank you so much. Tochuku is here also. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, quite a lot of people. Kendi, you're here. Mapule, you're here. Ibun from London. And we got Peggy also. Thank you. There's load shedding in South Africa. So some people are saying, no, we have load shedding. But thank you. There's Christy from Germany. Thank you, Joy, saying we're ready to hear. Emmanuel from Palbora. John from Cape Town. Yeah, people from different. Brenda from Jamaica. Joy from Chicago in the USA. Also in the USA is Rose from Minnesota. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Esther from Kenya. Samantha from the British Virgin Islands, out there in the Caribbean. Thank you. Yeah, Evelyn from Switzerland. And also we got Anita from the UK. Thank you, guys. Again, I want to put on a disclaimer that we've been trying to sort out our internet. Normally, we try to make sure everything is okay, but the Wi-Fi seems to be giving us a bit of a problem. Yeah, we got Dominican Republic right here. Pam from Denmark. Covenanted Worship from the UK. Efua from London. Janice from the state of Georgia in the USA. Alex from Uganda. Thank you. Miza from Ghana. Yeah, thank you, guys. Majinja from Muizenberg in Cape Town. Yeah, I stayed in Muizenberg for a couple of months. So I know Muizenberg. Marvin from Saudi. Yeah, started from Saudi all the way. Daniel Roberts from Cape Town. Brother Alan from Uganda. So yeah, I'm just gonna do this. I'm not sure. Let's try it again. So at this point, I want to just breathe in. So please, if you want to, I would want to encourage everybody to subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'm just taking some time just so I make sure Wilfred and his team is ready. I can see you guys. So I know once you're ready, I'm going to come on now. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe now to my YouTube channel. It's important. There are other videos there that you can check out, and also other content that I'm sure is going to be a blessing to you. So make sure you subscribe.
Psalm 23. God has set a table for two, one chair for himself, the king, and the second one, believe it or not, is for you. But of course, the enemy wants a seat at the table too. Anxiety wants a seat, envy wants a seat, worry and frustration want a seat. But don't give the enemy a seat at your table. Look up, go up. You're invited up the mountain of God. Move towards infinite power, splendor, love, and beauty, healing and restoration. When we gaze upon the Almighty, we are changed by the captivation. Empowered to take every thought captive in the battle of the mind. Shame is silenced by his glory, and our future redefined. So draw near to Jesus. The shepherd is good. Our God is faithful. Take the place prepared for you. And don't give the enemy a seat at your table.
Marriage. Of course, marriage is not your normal bump and face kind of relationship. It brings both excitement and disappointments. If you find yourself married in community of property and often delayed in your business transactions and dealings, worry no more. Because Masinya Attorneys uses the law to help you change from in community of property to out of community of property and vice versa. Call Masinya Attorneys today on 084 383 7747. We will sort you out with a high court application, and of course you get to keep your spouse. That's Masinya Attorneys on 084 383 7747.
All right, welcome back from that. And I hope you are ready for tonight. Because tonight we're going to reveal some shocking details and facts that is sad to actually see that, and it's sad to actually follow that. So that's what we're going to do tonight, right here in Solomon's Temple. What we do more and more is I get approached quite a lot, by victims who've been victims with their own side of the story, victims in churches, victims of certain leaders, apostles, prophets, pastors, and you get to hear that side of the story, and then you also dig deep, you excavate to find out, the legitimacy of the story. The story is legit. So you gather up evidence and bring it on, and then look at it, obviously, and then you evaluate it. That's what it's all about. And also you try to get to hear the other side of the story if they're willing to share their own side of the story, because it's always two-sided. So tonight, what we're going to be talking about is the issue of a scandal, an American apostle in Capetown, in the city of Capetown, in a place called Elsie's River, right? Elsie's River, which is a community that really, I've been there a couple of times, which is a community, that really needs help. And to be honest with you, sometimes that help comes from overseas, from Europe, from America, from Canada, from places like Denmark. So you get this so-called missionaries from all these places. They come down here. And when they come down here, they get supported by donors in the US. And to be honest with you, a lot of them do not manage the funds appropriately sometimes. They just come here to live a good life. I've met some of them. They come here for ministry. They come here for missions. I was a missionary for over 10 years. When I say missionary, I mean missionary. I don't get paid to be a missionary. I pay to be a missionary. I pay for my accommodation and pay. So some of you guys who don't know my background, I didn't just show up. I was a like missionary, proper missionary, not the one that, you go plant a church and then you get paid a salary and whatever. No. I have to raise money. I have to believe God to raise money. There were times where I go 2 weeks without 20 rand. 20 rand is like $1.5. That kind of life. I live that. So I have seen quite a lot of abuse of resources. And I think this story somehow brought back that memory for me. And let me bring in my guest just to make sure the internet is also okay. All right. Willie and your team, all out in Cape Town. Are you guys, can you hear me?
Yes, Uncle Solomon, we can hear you.
Yes, very good. This is a far more better network. And because I wanted us to really get to hear every single one of you loud and clear. Thank you so much for joining me. I first want to introduce everybody to who we're going to be talking about. And Willie, you are an elder in the church, right? So let me introduce. Okay, we're just gonna go one by one anyway.
Uncle Solomon, can I just quickly? I'm not the elder. Elder Joseph, I'm going to bring him forward quickly, right?
Okay. So what we are gonna be.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. We are looking at Christ, Ambassadors for Christ Outreach Ministry tonight in Cape Town. How much do you know about Ambassadors for Christ Ministries and how were you involved until recently?
I know Ambassador for Christ Ministry. I met the founder and senior pastor in the States, in Chicago. And then I'm involved 30 years with this church now. I've worked as a leading elder here in several projects that we've done here over these years. So I'm also elder in the church and also the Ambassador of Christ World Outreach NPC. I'm a director on the organization at the moment.
So you're still you're still a director on the organization. So what you do is you do a lot of community outreaches. Is it like, is this church the strong point, or is it community outreaches in communities? And what sort of outreaches do you do?
The church is more businessy. It's more, we do cookie sales. We did building, hard labor. That was more the focus of this whole organization, more than church. So we used to say church is 10% of what we really do.
Okay. And you met this man, and this is him with his wife. We're talking about Apostle Joseph Louis Stanford. He is the founder of Ambassadors for Christ in Cape Town. You met him in Chicago in the USA. How long was that? And how did he get you to be a part of the ministry?
You broke away a little bit there now.
Yeah, I'm saying you met the founder. This is him and his wife. You met him, that is Apostle Joseph Louis Stanford. You met him in Chicago. How long was that? And how did he convince you to be a part of the ministry?
When I met him in Chicago, he already had a church in Cape Town. So, you know, I was with another bishop and was looking for a place to stay and wanted to, you know, had nowhere to sort of go. So, you know, the bishop that I was with called him because I knew him. I remember him. Our choir at that stage have done something for his community, for a community event he did. That's how I met him. And then when I met him, I brought under him a few of my friends of my local pastor, Andrew May. I was at his church that moment, and I brought all these people under him. Yes, most of his local leaders right now is people from that church that we brought under him.
So you were very involved, and what was your role?
I was the elder of the church, so my role was to organize things. I had to be like a managing director, you know, making sure the money comes in, the bills get paid, raising the funds, working the people. They called me, I was like a Moses on some of the people, so that was my job. I was to raise the funds, and we went right around the country, Polokwane, everywhere, raising funds for this ministry. Thousands and thousands of rands every month.
So describe the founder, Apostle Joseph Lewis Stanford. What sort of a man is he?
He is a, if you look at him, you'll find, he has some different, it's kind of different to a normal guy that you would meet. So what he preaches, what he said to you is what's more important for you to understand him. Because now that I'm taking a step back, most of the stuff that he has said to me, I understand better now. But his purpose or his purposes, what he was trying to make clear to us at that time, we were very genuine. We believed him. He was coming. We said we will build houses. We build our own houses. So what we did, we start finding molds and make blocks. We didn't hire anybody else. The church had to make blocks ourselves. And is that heavy blocks, concrete blocks, and then anything he said, then we would just go and do it, because we believed in his prophecies and the stuff that he was saying. So he speaks very high when he does say things. He speaks like he has the super faith, and things will just magically appear, But it's not how it is. It's not my walk with him. Have shown that's not how it works. You have to literally work for everything that he said he was going to do. The sad part with me and my conversation with him was when the people was now asking, "Where's the houses? When are I going to get houses?" Then he said, "I never promised houses," but he said it loud and clear from the pulpit. We're going to build houses, and people should move into their own houses and all that. So that made me think, oh, okay, what's going on here, But I didn't have any, I couldn't see the bank, what's going on in the bank. The only time I knew what's going in the bank was when he needed some money to come into the bank, and he would call me, say, let's go. We need some money and make more deposits with cookies and all that and work. But we didn't see the bank statements like we should and see what's coming in, like you was just said earlier.
No, but you said you are involved. You're involved with the money as an elder. So you mean you don't have access to that?
No, I didn't. I don't. We have a little account which we had from our church that we came over that I still had access on, but there was not money talking about. The huge bulk of the money was in this big account, which had millions in. The way I can really confirm that.
So, yeah. Anyway, we're gonna get to that because for me, being an American running the ministry here, it's traditional for you to have donors in the US.
Yes.
So I'm sure there was hundreds of thousands of dollars coming from the US. I know. I was a missionary. I know the way these things operate. Right?
Yes.
But you were not, you don't have access to that. None of you local people have access to that.
Whoever had access to that didn't know. We didn't know because we didn't see these statements. We didn't understand the money. We didn't understand how it works because most of the people that was working closely with the apostle or Mr. Stanford, they were there and they were in the position. They couldn't ask questions. They were selected because they were supporting him. You see that? So you don't select anybody. If you ask too many questions, you better believe you're not going to be in his tight circle. So most of the people, we were just, okay, let's just follow. And, every time you just believe him, if he says, if you don't, we should have our own, gated houses, your own, security gated houses, you will have that. He just speaks all this stuff, but One thing that I want to mention to you, we have an Absa account which he managed himself. He don't need no 2-3 signature. This man just kind of on his phone and he just sends crazy, like just he's the only one operating it, even when he's in the
hold
States.
On. So is that account part of the ministry account?
It's the church account. It's the Ambassadors for Christ account.
But why should one person be signatory to an account of a church? That's not proper. That's not ethically okay.
Yeah, but you see, the people with him, they probably have given him that access. It's easy for you to run one account if you have the other person's PIN or whatever you have, you know. I don't know how he does it, but all I know is he can make a deposit right now. Where he's in the States in the moment, I believe, but he can make a deposit from the church account right now.
Now, he has been in Cape Town for over 20 years, I'm sure, right?
Yes. This year.
Tell me a little bit about what sort of a teacher is he when he preaches and teaches? Because now I picked it up that he was basically a big talker, promising people houses, which never really materialized, and then denied that he promised people houses. Because I know that I want the viewer to understand the kind of community that you operate. You know, if you're in Elsie's River, you know, I want people to understand that this is not a community that is affluent. What are some of the challenges in that community? What are some of the social challenges and spiritual challenges?
The normal social challenges in their community is obviously gangsters and mostly poverty. So the thing that people live in here is mostly hockeys. You know, they live in backyards. So shacks here. So that's the thing that year. My involvement in this was to see that change, especially when it came with the blocks. We actually made a styrofoam block, so he was going to replace hockeys with styrofoam blocks. Oh, to me it was, wow, this is going to be great. It's a great plan. It's going to change the world. It's going to change our people's way of things, you know. But I'm sorry, I don't see that happen. I don't see that. I cannot say that was ever the plan to have that happen. But that's why I opted to do what I did all these years, so that people can have a better chance.
What sort of life does he live? If you're working with people who are in impoverished communities, what sort of life does he live? What kind of house? What kind of car does he drive?
In here, he lives in Bellville. As a matter of fact, we extended this house ourselves. We laid the second floor of the house. It was normal. It was a double-story house. We made it like 10 to 12 rooms upstairs and 7 bathrooms. We put up a jacuzzi in there, and that was all just free labor, hard labor. We weren't paid for that. You know, we got some people standing on the road and come and help us with some certain skills we need. But I ran all those projects, and we built those houses. You know, with our own hands. We extended that whole house. The brothers, we were so good trained, sir. You couldn't take holiday. Christmas was like you go on Boxing Day to the beach like we do in Cape Town. You were off. He told against that stuff. You was thinking about you on a Saturday. Our people would sell cookies, and you would say, "What would you want to be at home for? Go sell some cookies. Go raise some money for the church." And that's what the people did. They somehow he has that power that people who follow him or listen to him.
Okay, so
I don't know.
It's like making blocks, and then you're building homes. He promised he's going to build homes for people who do not technically have homes, back rooms and all that. But then he's ending up building his own home with about 12 rooms and 7 bathrooms. So that's almost like a mansion.
Yeah.
And how many people live in that house?
2 people lives in that house.
So you have this number of rooms, and you have 2 people living in the house. So he's technically living like a king, obviously.
Because the holy sanctuary, you don't let anybody that's coming to a holy sanctuary. Only God tells him who must live there. You know,
because I thought maybe Yeah, I thought maybe he has a lot of rooms because maybe some of the church members that do not have homes, or they wherever they come stay there, or
No,
that kind of
no,
thing.
sir. He actually, in front of the whole church, has evicted people that was living in a church and didn't even offer one of those rooms for those people to live in. He asked the church people, according to what I've heard, don't you have place for them to stay? And he has this big mansion, and nobody actually have asked him that day, uh, 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 what about your house? Somebody said, if it was me, I would have been in front of your house and say, sir, what must I do? But he has this deity about him that people wouldn't just challenge him or go to him and ask him, because he's the man of God. He has this. He's he's the closest thing to God that you know. He is the friend of the bridegroom. And then one of his teachings he had is Jesus' brother. We have to pray through Jesus. He goes direct to the Father. That stuff he taught us. So you've been quite good taught of who this man is and how he operates. You couldn't see that this man was not from God. You could see this is the man of God. And he has all the money. He never lacks for nothing. But you didn't know you got the money probably from what you say, sponsorships and stuff like that.
International sponsors. No, that's. I mean, I've never met him or whatever, but I've been in that cycle quite a long time to know that almost every European that you see here or American that you see here, they get sponsorship from overseas. Anyone coming to plant a church or to do mission works, or especially when you say you're working in impoverished communities,
Yes,
that in itself will make a lot of people in America support you and sponsor what you're doing.
yes.
Because they love Africa, especially African Americans. They love Africa, and they would want to support and see change. So it's common sense for me, from my history, But what are some of the projects that you run? You and Elder, in charge of so many things. What are some of the projects that you guys got to do, and now you can look back and say, wow. I mean, you made bricks, and then there's a whole cookie thing. I'm going to speak to the ladies behind you much later. There's a whole cookie thing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's basically what we run. I remember one of the deacons came to him and asked him about doing some outreach. He said, no, we don't have time for souls now. And that man just moved out of the church. He said, no, I'm not staying here because I'm here for souls. And stuff like that, So he didn't focus on church as much, because he would challenge pastors. Oh, you want church? Let me build your church and just move you on. We're building a ministry, and that's the talk we talk. Uncle Solomon, I had to go to the hospital for God to speak to me to move out of this ministry. I was in the hospital. My hand was swollen up. My feet were swollen. I slept 2 hours doing works. We did a Wi-Fi company that we was working, that I had 90% work myself with a small group of a team that I was working with. And then I came out and he just overtake everything. And I told him, no, I can't work like that, because you can't just overtake everything. And at that time, I went to the house, which is the church house, that and then there I because it was COVID, and I didn't want to stay in COVID time in the hospital, and I saw people die, so I just said, let me go to the house. And then in the house, God revealed me, no, you can't stay here. You have to shine a light on this, and ask this man for a release, ask him for an exit strategy. He never came back to me with no extra strategy. As a matter of fact, when I went back to him and talked to him about what we've done, he told me, just leave like everybody else left. And I said, no, I'm not just going to leave like that. Everybody else left. We have built this together. Let's talk about that. And he refused to talk about that.
So when did you leave? And when did you leave officially? I know your name is still there as a director, right? Registered.
Yes.
Legally, your name is still there as one of the directors.
Yeah.
But when did you leave?
They removed my name. They removed my name illegally from the directorship. I had to fight the CPIC to put me back, because I did not resign because of the the people. I resigned because of what I saw. I basically removed myself away from them, from their strategies of what they was doing, and they didn't like the fact that you would do that, because that was wrong. As a matter of fact, they wrote me a lawyer's letter, tell me back that I'm against them, against fighting, or rather I'm standing up against the church. And I'm not standing up against the church. I'm standing against the wrongs of what's been happening to the people. And that's what we need to get fixed. And that seems not to be the order of the day. I'm talking about the gift of the people they don't look at the gift of nobody. It's just about what you want, what was to do, and the way you can control the whole situation, And basically that's what he does. If he finds out you too good and you have to gift it, and he can't control you, forget about it. You won't get a seat in any place.
Now, a lot of people will be thinking, well, maybe you had issues. Maybe you yourself did something wrong. That's why you left. Or maybe you guys as a group had issues that are not legit. That's why you left.
Maybe, sir, God spoke to us. That could be because there was no way I was going to leave this man. I believe in this thing, sir, like nobody else could believe. As a matter of fact, I was this man's right-hand man. He was talking to me, talking to people about how I was his right. But there was no way I was going to leave. Even when I left, some people asked me, and I still said, no, he's not like that. You see? There was one time, sir, that I went with him because I had this thing in my heart that I want to talk to him about, because he said something which he's already saying now, and I was feeling offended because I was making sure I kept my part clear in terms of raising funds and doing things and making sure the church get the money, because I'm thinking we're building something for the kingdom. And then my wife was saying, and we went to said, no, if he said that about me, which was like, I was stealing and all that, I said, no, then I can't work with him. So I'm going to ask him, I'm just going to leave.
So he accused you of stealing, or he was saying that behind your back? Did he tell you that to your face?
He was telling that to my wife. Then
he never told you.
I was actually believing my wife. So I went with him, me and my wife talked to him. And then, what I did was I denied my wife for him. I said, no, baby, I believe the apostle. And we were crying, and he was crying, he was doing everything. He said, I will never say that about you. I will never say that about you, But my point was, when I eventually get to that point, either way he said it. You know what I'm saying? So my point was, he was never genuine in terms of what he was saying or the things he was speaking. He was just trying to get things out to a point to put something in my mind or something like that. And now, yes, we talked about how he just evicted full-time staff, and he gave me an eviction just now recently. He cut my water, cut my electricity, just because they can. So we had to have a spoliation order. So we're in court with them right now. But that wasn't unnecessary. That was all unnecessary because I was a faithful member for 13 years. I actually told him that. I left out. I remember the 1st of February, I had a meeting with him, and I told him, I said, we've built this for 13 years. And then he said, did you eat? Everybody, you have benefited. I said, how have everybody benefited? Look where you live. Look where we are. How have everybody benefited? But this is how things wind up. And the more I listened to them, I found out this demon, this type of control happening. I decided myself, no, I'm going to fight against this. And this is what I'm doing now.
Well,
stand up against
ambassadors for Christ definitely for me sounds like a cult. That's what I figure out. Before I let you go, so I can bring the next person, You said you did a lot of fundraise for the church across the country. What sort of methods strategies did you guys use to fundraise? And what was that money used for?
We did a lot of fundraisers over these years. We actually started our own political party, which was calling Democrats for Change, which was a failed project afterwards. Then we had a combi competition, and we did a lot of things, blocks over these years. But all the things that we did, we actually baked bread as well. We did everything you can think of, but it was just busy work to keep us busy in terms of making money and getting us to the point where we come. And then we purchased the land, a 28-hectare land. I actually made that deal with those people, and then we were supposed to put up a 32-bedroom hotel there on the land. And man, we threw a slab of over 1,000 hectares, or not the hectares, 1,000 square meters by hand, sir. It was hard labor, and it was, you know, if you speak to the young people today, when they raise their stories, I cannot not say I wasn't a part of that. I was a part of that.
Yes,
but
I was gonna ask you. This was a man that you believed in.
Yeah.
And that man ran the place like a dictator, manipulating and controlling people. So you were a part of it. I'm sure there's going to be a few young people that would be blaming you, or maybe they left the church because of you. And for you, maybe because you're trying to follow instruction of a man of God that you totally believe in.
Yes, but you see, what happened was he had a meeting, and then in the meeting, he had the audacity to discuss me without me being there. So what I did was I called a meeting. And this time around, I called a meeting because I was saying, no, his story can't just be the only one out there, and I'm not saying anything. So when I called the meeting, over 40 people came to the meeting, and I had to talk to the people about what happened. And then this young person said, but you were together. You were in with us. And, you know, I could just apologize, because my intention was never to harm the people. My intention was to work the people, to work the people to the point where we can be what God, according to what he said, we need to be, so that this big thing that God has revealed unto him will open up. And that's what I did. And I went to the people and apologized. I went to pastors and pastors' wives, and my former pastor. I had to apologize to all of them, to tell them how how I was used. And I was in court with my own brother-in-law, so fighting this vision, or like you say, fighting this cause. And then he now is making me the enemies of the work. And he just put something on Facebook a few weeks back, calling my name up. He said my name straight like that, with no regard. And he just defamed me like that, calling me a liar and a lying devil and all that. And another brother, which was a faithful tithe payer, he just, on public platform, he just did that to us. So we felt, no, we're not going to allow these demons to get away with us like that, because we still believe in God. That's why we did this, because we believe in God.
Now tell me, is he the kind of leader that governs people with fear, put fear in people?
Yes. So that I'm going to leave up to leave up to the ladies, because I've heard stories from them that broke my heart.
Now, before you go, you had a political party, right? So he started a political party, or you guys started a political party?
He was the instigator behind it, because in the States, they were running in Chicago at that time for the mayoral post, and also they did the mother church in Chicago also ran for senator, which they won the senator race, but they didn't want the other one. But what he did was he just came there and said, well, if God give us there, let's do it here. So somehow God speaks to him differently, like, I don't know how, but we just tried it out, and it was so humiliating. So we went to the to count the votes. We couldn't believe that so many little people have really voted for us. But when he gave the report to the people, it sounded like we were like we were a second choice. But I mean, he never
So
never
that's
brings
in
out
the city of
negativity.
Cape Town. Is that for the seat of councillor? Councillor, is that
For the
it?
counselor,
Mayoral?
yeah.
Yes.
No,
Okay. Okay.
yes, yeah,
Okay. All right. So I'm going to let you go now. I'll bring in one of.
yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Can you hear me?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Good. So, what's your name?
I am Michaelan Warner.
Buchanan.
Michaelan, yes.
Okay. So, how long were you at Ambassadors for Christ? How did you get in there? Did you get in there as a young person? And what was your role there? Oops, we just lost them. Yeah, I think there's something about that connection. But we're trying to make sure, we're actually gonna get we're gonna get a lot more intense, and we're gonna get to a place where I'll show you some information about how he used certain money to go on a cruise with an alleged girlfriend from Cape Town to Tanzania, not with his wife, the one that I showed you, not with this wife, but he took a cruise with another girl that is not his wife. And we're going to look at that. We're going to look at some of the documentation. We're going to look at how he actually gave her some sort of a tender, a contract, that she made hundreds of thousands out of it, which is really quite sad. Because if you know the kind of community that they were operating, you've been to Cape Town, we're talking about a community that needs a lot of social, economical support, and a lot of young people there. Anyway, you're back. All right, you're here, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So I joined, like I said, I joined the church when I was 12 years old with my mother and my younger brother. We moved to church 1 year after we joined the church. My mommy was going through a divorce, and Apostle asked her to move into the church, and we obviously had no choice but to move in with her. In 27 when I was 17 years old, 2012, yes, the church started this cookie business whereby we had a bakery, and the grown ladies went for training and they started to bake biscuits, and we as the young people basically we offered our time to sell cookies every day, but we just started out at the train stations every morning, and then afterwards we would go to school. Some of us would go to college, and at the time, we actually started to pick up with sales. We were starting to make money, and most of us didn't have time to go to. Most of us didn't have time really when we went to college to do assignments and homework. So it was asked of some of us to actually leave our studies and be full-time, because it was also said that if we're not going to give 100% in class or wherever, then we might as well just leave it. So I left my studies and I went full-time into ministry.
What
And
grade
at
were
the
you then?
time, excuse me?
What grade were you when you left school?
I was studying.
What
I
grade?
was studying. I was
What?
doing in my N1, building and civil engineering.
Okay, okay.
Yes, I was on colleges.
Yes, in college.
Yeah. So we would wake up, and then I was asked to move into the church. I left before, because I wasn't in agreement with a lot of things that was happening while I was living there at the church. And I moved, and I was asked to move back into church, and Apostle told me that God wanted me to be there. And at the time, the church was actually making money through this cookie business. So we would wake up 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning to be at the intersection at 6 a.m. And then we would work all day. We would work a 12-hour shift from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. And sometimes they would pick us up late. So we were most of us were girls, and it would get dark and no one would pick us up, and we would call them like, where are you guys? When are you getting us? And they would just say we need to hold on, sell until the transport come. And we didn't complain, because our intention was that we're doing this for the church, and we're doing it to raise funds for the church, because we wanted to pay off this new building that the church purchased. So Apostle said that we have 2 years. We're gonna pay off the church building in 3 years or 2 years, and we're gonna do it with South African money. So obviously, us as young people, we felt like we're gonna help out the church, because we're young, we have time, we're free, we're full of energy, and we stayed at the church. We sold cookies, but we were treated as if we were nothing, as if we didn't do every single thing that he asked of us to do. We were super obedient. We even had one meal per day, and it wasn't the kind of food that the person who made it would eat even, or the person that made up the menu, she wouldn't eat it, but it was given unto us. And if you didn't want it, they would tell you that you're ungrateful, or there's people out there that's willing to be in your place, but there was actually nobody else that was willing to do the work that we did. Yeah.
So you left school to sell cookies, to work for church, because you feel,
Yes,
inside God has called you to do that. What kind of, being a young girl for you, so you did that. I mean, you work 12-hour shift. You go out in the morning from 5, you hit the road at 6. When people are getting ready to go to work, when people are going to school, you were trying to sell cookies, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you're trying to raise money for church. You're trying to make sure you pay for this church in 3 years or 2 years or whatever, right? And for you, it seems right. What sort of number of girls are we talking about doing that?
We were about 8 girls at the time, and 4 guys. Yes, that was what was.
And you did that every day for how long?
Every single day for 5 years straight.
5 years?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's slavery, isn't it? Straight slavery.
Yes, it was.
So, and you keep getting other younger people also coming.
Yes, we made like 800 to 1,000 rand every single day. That is excluding on the Saturday. On a Saturday, each of us would make a 2,000 rand. Some of us would make 5,000 rand. And
that's a lot of money.
Yes, sir. And that was every week. And we even went to, as far as Joburg, we literally traveled to every single province in South Africa selling cookies. And we only received a stipend of 800 rand, sometimes 500 rand. It depends on how much money you made.
What's the name of the cookies?
It was the AFC cookies, the butter cookies. It melts in your mouth.
AFC butter cookies.
Yes, sir.
So for you as a young person, you're what now? You're 27, 29?
26.
26, okay. So for you as a young person, all you're trying to do is you felt you're serving God. Did it feel right for you to leave your home and stay in church and do that? What did your family think about it? Was your mom and, did anybody tell you, hey, look, this doesn't seem right?
My grandparents did, but obviously my mother stayed with us at the church, and she was there, and she was also working this man's vision. So there was nobody that really, like, none of my family really said, hey, don't do this, why are you leaving school, whatever, because my mommy was there and she always encouraged us to be present and like serve in this ministry and stuff, because we didn't have anywhere to go. We only had my mother. And even with her being there, she couldn't be a mother to me or my brother, because we were basically handed over to the leadership of the church. I couldn't speak to my mommy if I felt down or if I needed help with anything.
Why?
I could not speak to my mommy. I had to speak to the leadership.
That's a cult. That's a lot of control. But how that the Apostle Joseph Stanford, was he like a father figure for you guys? Was he there? How did he treat especially young girls?
We would have one-on-ones with him in his room, in his bedroom. Like, he had a table set up. Yes, in his bedroom. So that is basically where he
is
would.
That in Belleville?
Yes, in Belleville.
And his wife lives there too, or she was in the US?
No, his wife stays in America. He was here by himself most of the time.
Okay, now there's a problem. So he lived in Cape Town all by himself. His wife was just living in the US most of the time, and he's been here for over 20 years. And he wants to have a one-on-one with young girls. Sorry, you want to correct?
There was a lady staying with him in the house. She still does like live with him. She's the only girl that stays with him in his house. So we would just go there for a few hours if we had a meeting, or we
Okay. He's staying with another single young lady.
Yes.
What is she to him?
Assistant, I think.
And she's staying in his home as an assistant.
Yes. Yes.
A married man, big house, staying with a young lady. He's probably 20 years old, 30 years older than her.
Yeah, she moved there when she was 19. She's 33 today, I think.
But that's not normal.
Nothing about this is normal, sir.
So she lived there for over 10 years.
Yes. So the apostle, also one of the girls that was with us staying in this house, one of the girls that used to sell cookies with me. So she basically wrote a letter to the church, and she was asking a lot of questions because there was a lot of information that was leaked recently. So one of the things was that it was suggested that she went for a pap smear. So the girl that wrote the letter to the board wanted to know why is it that she was advised. And I remember a few years ago when we were selling cookies, he advised, he told us that we should also go and check and go for a pap smear to check if everything is okay. But according to our health and knowledge, the health department and knowledge, they won't perform a pap smear on girls that don't have any kids or that's not sexually active. So my question to him the other day was, why is it that you said we should go for one if we were at the church, none of us have kids and we're not active? So why is it that you said we should go? Because I remember him saying that, and he denied it when he wrote back to her in a letter, when his lawyer wrote back to her in the letter. He said that he denied. He never advised anyone to go for a pap smear, but there was voice notes, and I remembered him telling us that, and he blocked me off, and he blocked me on WhatsApp when I asked him the question. So he's not admitting to anything, and yeah.
No, you don't admit. That's the way charlatans and people like that work. You don't admit. You throw it back to the people. But for him to have an assistant from 19 years old, she's 33 today, staying with his. What is she assisting him with? In his home. So it's quite clear what she's assisting him with.
She basically, when we were working the cookies, she would basically be the one to tell us that we need to reach out to him and tell him, we basically need to tell on each other also. And she was basically the one telling us, this is what we're supposed to do. She was the one encouraging us basically to work hard and give 100% every single day.
What's her name?
Samantha.
So let's listen to these audio clips. A conversation, just some audio clips, conversation between Samantha and Apostle. It's shameful that I'm actually calling him Apostle. Joseph Stanford. Let me try to get this right. So this is the same girl we're talking about, the one who is his assistant.
I am done at the hairdresser. They did a good job. I think they just also were in a little rush because it was the end of the day. On my way home now because the weather has changed a bit. So I'm going to get a jacket and then take myself to Century City. And I'm probably gonna get my feet soaked in those little baths that we sat in the last time at that manicure store. So I'll be free because I'm on my way home just to freshen up a bit. But I love you.
Okay, this is the personal assistant talking to the apostle, right? Yes, I love you. So that's a summary of that. And this is a picture of them together. Where was this picture taken?
I don't know, sir.
Yeah. So this picture was taken. You can see the way they are together. Cozy together. Let me play a bit more clips from the, these are voice notes between them.
Hey, baby.
So she's calling him baby.
I came from the doctor. And she basically said what you said. She said that she don't think it's anything serious. She said she don't think it's a cyst either. But she did suggest that I do a pap smear probably in next week. She said that she can do it and just send my sample to the lab, which is going to cost me about 300 Rand to do it by her. And she says that I don't have to be concerned. She says that it seems like it's going away anyway. But she couldn't really give a clear analysis of it because she said that she don't think it's anything serious. And it's not painful. It's, you know, like you were saying, she was going to say, could be a little sis, but it's not anything. So I came home because they're working on the car again at the church. They're going to respray the parts, which is going to take the whole day. So I asked them to drop me at home. So I will be here. Yeah.
I love you. She forgot to add that part. Anyway, I'm coming to you now. Let's listen to some of the audio.
Hey, baby. I came from the doctor now.
Okay, same one.
I want my baby.
Yeah. So that's more like his voice.
I want my baby.
I want my baby too. Hey, baby. I am done at the hairdresser. They did a good job. I think they just also went a little rushed because it was the end of the day. I'm on my way home now because the weather has changed a bit. So I'm going to get a jacket and then take myself to Century City. And I'm probably gonna get my feet soaked in those.
We listened to this one earlier on.
That we said in the last time at that.
Yeah, we'll listen to this one earlier on. Sorry, before I come to you, I'm just trying to get something out of the way here. Okay. Because I want to bring this sort of like establish something around it. Anyway, phone is dodgy. Yes. But let's talk. You were also part of the cookie team or another different team?
I was part of the cookie team.
Yeah. What was your experience totally? What did you see and what did you notice?
With the cookies, it was like, we worked, like she said, Michaela said earlier, we worked 12 hours a day and we had to be at the intersection at 6 a.m. in the morning. So if you're not ready by 6 a.m., there's punishments involved. Like me personally, I've experienced some of the punishment that was enforced on us. Like I had to stay in my room for 3 weeks.
What do you mean you have to stay in your room? What do you have to do and why do you have to be punished? And what sort of punishment are we talking about?
The punishment would come if you disobey, if you don't follow instructions. Like if you sick and you send messages and you say, I can't go out today, I'm not feeling well. And then you would be either forced to go out, and if you resist, you get punished. Now I used to resist a lot. So I was placed in my room. My cell phone was taken from me. I couldn't speak to anyone. I brought my food to the room. All I had to do was just pray and read my Bible.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I think we lost each other there. Sorry, guys. Really sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking about, so you left school too. Did you leave school?
Yes, I left. I was in my first year of university when I dropped out.
Okay. Where is that? Cape Tech, UWC?
UWC.
So you left university, UWC,
Yes.
to go and sell cookies because you feel God wants you to be there. And now you're being punished. What are the rules? What do you need to do to be punished?
There was a lot of rules, like you had to ask if you want to visit your family. You have to go out every single day to go sell cookies. Sometimes that's only 2 Sundays a month we would be in church. Sometimes we wouldn't even be in service.
Hmm.
And then you have to report back, like we were told to report on each other, because if you don't tell what the next person is doing, you're not caring about that person. And you were not allowed to date. You were not allowed to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, nothing like that. And everything you want to do, you had to ask Apostle. You had to get permission to do anything other than selling cookies.
Now and a lot of you guys are young people there.
Yes. There were a lot of young people living together.
So you said there was a time you were punished, and the punishment is you stay in your room for 3 weeks?
Yes. Without communicating with anyone. I was living with the ladies in the house. They never saw me. I was just in my room. One of the leaders brought my food to me every single day.
What did you do to deserve that sort of punishment?
Because you're resisting instructions, like you wouldn't want to sell cookies if you don't want to sell. And if you don't make money, like if you bring in a 200 rand, your phone would be taken, you would be taken. And then after your period of staying in the room, you have to apologize, and you have to give an answer as to why you were in the room. I myself didn't even know why I was there, but I was forced to explain.
What are the other sort of punishment? Yeah, go ahead.
The other sort of punishment was bread and water. Some people were on brown bread and water for weeks.
So you're not going to get normal, you're not going to get a healthy, decent food. You feed on bread and water.
Just bread and water. And you had to eat it while everyone, on Sundays when we all eat together, you have to sit there with brown bread and water while everyone is eating Sunday lunch in front of you.
And that is in the church environment, right? Because you lived in the church.
In the church environment. And also I was on other punishments, such as I cleaned the church for a month. I had to sweep, wash the windows every single day. And then we also there was a young man who, a young boy, he was still a boy on school. He also disobeyed and stuff, and we had to, the whole cookie team had to cut his hair. We were instructed to cut his hair, at the apostles' house when we went there for our meeting. And also we were instructed to beat him every single day. We had to go to his room and hit him with a belt, each and every one of us. And he was still on school at the time.
Mm.
And the
And
other
who?
punishments would be things like you had to sweep the church with a toothbrush, the whole church.
And who are some of the people that facilitate all this punishment based on the instructions of the apostle?
It was mostly apostle's assistant, Samantha. She took my phone most of the time and she told me to stay in the room.
Okay.
According to my experiences that I had.
Okay.
And also, I wrote a letter to the church, to the church leadership.
Just hold on. I'm trying to call
Okay.
Samantha. The same Samantha who is the pastor's assistant, live in the pastor's house. She's not picking it. Maybe she's asleep. She sleep early?
Maybe.
Okay. The last time I checked, they said the apostle is not in the country, you see?
No.
He's not in the country.
No, sir.
Okay. So even if he's not in the country, I have his international number. Let's try it. Oops. Just trying to make sure you are. Yeah. Can't believe such a cult exists in Cape Town. Of all places. Not sure if this is going to go in. Let's try it. So that's the apostle. So it's a US number.
Please leave your message for Joseph Stanford.
So you hear that, Joseph Stanford. So he's not there. But yeah, so how long did you live in the church?
I lived in the church. I'm still living there. And it's been 7 years.
Okay, you're still living there and you're here talking to me. They're not going to evict you tomorrow.
Yes. They already evicted me. In fact, all of us, a lot of us that lived there, that worked like we labored. We worked for the church building, basically. We paid it with the cookie money that we labored for. And then Apostle Stanford told us that whatever we're doing, whatever he's asking of us is for us. So then he just decided, it was in 2020, he decided that in 30 days, we have to move out of the church. We have to find us a place to stay.
Okay. Okay.
Because he's going to do changes in the building. It's either you're going to stay at the church or you go to the land that they purchase, which they is. It's not a nice environment to live. It's a farm.
Okay.
So some of the young ladies left, and then some of us still stayed. We were like 2 that stayed. Because we had nowhere to go to. My mother also lived at the church and with me. So out of the church, we were put into rooms outside. Outside the church, there was rooms also built there by the brothers of the church with the blocks that they made with their own hands. And then last year, it was 2019, when I told Apostle Stanford I'm going back to my studies, I'm going to take up my studies again. And then he told me that he hopes I make it. And then he had a meeting with my mother, because now I'm not full-time anymore. I'm not. He even called me and he asked me, am I sure that I'm saved? So I said, yes, I'm sure that I'm saved. So he said, so I asked him, why is he asking me that? He said, if I was saved, I would have worked. I would have worked the vision. So I asked him, so how do you attach me being saved to working? My relationship with God has nothing to do with working. So he always put fear in people. Like he always would give you a reason not to do what you feel that you want to do. And then he told my mother I'm not gonna make it in studying. And he asked me even where am I gonna get the money. And then he said, yeah, I hope things work out for me. And I won't make it. So last year I passed my first year going back. And then he put the electricity in this year. He told us again we have to leave. And then he put the electricity was cut off and the water was cut off. So my mother was forced basically to move out of the church because my little brother is still on school and it's not a nice environment to live. There's no water, there's no electricity. And then he gave her money to put up a shack at my granny's house, which she did not want to go back to. And so I had to move back. I moved to live with my mother for the time that the electricity and the water was cut because I couldn't take my exams. There was times where I charged my laptop by neighbors. And then when I took my exam, it just goes off in my face. So I couldn't anymore because it wasn't good for my mental health. And I moved back. I moved with my mommy just for a few weeks because I had to take my exams out. And I sent him a message at the time. I told him, when we came here, this was not what he told us. He told us what we're doing is for us, but now he's doing this to us. So every time you resist whatever he wants you to do, he makes it difficult for you to succeed or to do anything that you want to do. And then I told my mother, like,
oops, some bit of network there. We just lost her. Yeah. Yeah, we got comments like this. You know, basically they hold power. They hold power over the people to control them. Most of them are narcissists. Indeed, they are. You know, yeah, there's just quite a lot of comments here. You know, he manipulated her mother, preying on the vulnerable, preying on them. There's just there's even somebody here that was at the church. I think here they're saying my phone was thrown into the pool because I disobeyed instructions. Yeah, that's like a very top cult. That's what it is. You know, it is a cult. I wonder what the people of Cape Town are doing about it. The government in Cape Town is doing about it. Those in that community, what they're doing about it. You know. Yes, continue.
Yes, and so at the church, even they locked the church doors on us. Like we couldn't. There wasn't water at the places where they put us on the premises, but we couldn't access the church building. And then I asked Apostle Stanford, but we worked for this building, but now you're locking doors. If we didn't labor, you wouldn't have keys to lock any doors. So now you're cutting us out because according to me, you only used us when it was beneficial for you. Now that you're not benefiting from us, we're not good enough. We just have to go. And then recently he moved another man into the church building. And I sent a letter to the church to ask about my concerns. I sent it to the church board and they responded through their lawyers. They could not respond themselves. None of the leadership could respond. Only Elder George sent his response because he was not included in the decisions that they make. So I asked them, then in their response, they said they provide housing for people who need a roof over their heads. So I was asking, so my question is, didn't we need a roof over our heads? So it's all about what you can give to him. And when he tell you to leave, you leave with nothing. Like I gave up my studies, I could have had my degree by now. I have nothing. I have to go back into a shack and live with my mother where I could have been stable. He don't give nothing. Every one of us, every cookie seller, the person that worked, people that worked in the bakery left unhappy because you were left with nothing while he's benefiting from the things, the work that we did. And that is why we're crying out to the people to feel our pain and what we went through, all the punishment, everything that we went through. Like we gave our all because we believe. It's like when you promise someone a 10,000 rand that never had a 10,000 rand, they would believe in what you do because they see the end, they're going to get the 10,000 rand. So we use that, and a lot of the young people don't have father figures in their lives. So he knows where to get us. He knows our situation. He knows, and he even had this thing where he promised going to America if we keep on working hard, but the time was just never right to go to America.
Yeah. They normally promise you all these things that you can dream about and be committed to them and keep serving. Amongst the girls that were there, was there any of the girl that you've had or you yourself that was physically abused, sexually abused by any of the leaders? Okay. Hi, how are you? Good. What's your name?
I'm Shante.
Chantel.
Shante. Shante David. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Okay. Were you abused physically, sexually?
No, sir.
Yeah. But what was your experience or your story?
So I've been with Ambassadors for Christ for 7 years. I was introduced by my cousin. I was 19 at the time, 19 years old. And honestly, what drew me was my love for God. All the promises that I heard that was made was we're gonna help our families. And coming from an impoverished background, this is all we wanted. We wanted better, not only for our families, but also for our offspring. So all of the promises that were made to us, that's basically what kept us. So I was one of the sales representatives. Like the lady said, like the lady said, that we work from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. and sometimes later. And if we made it in time for the bakery shift, we would have to go work bakery shift as well. And if we said that we were tired, we would be punished for that. So,
And you were you there with your family? Were you there alone, or you were there with your family?
I was there with my mother, my father, and my cousin attended as well. But they did not stay at the church.
Okay, you stayed at the church, or you didn't stay at the church?
I stayed at the church for 2 years, and after one of the leaders then spoke to me about the cultish behaviors that were happening and the mind programming that was happening. And then when I questioned Mr. Stanford about it, he then moved me into his house and he isolated me from speaking to any of the leaders or anyone outside of the other members in the church. I could not speak to anyone.
What sort of punishment did you get? Just in that.
So the one time I went to the store and I had to buy a few things, and I wake up at a certain time because I have to cook breakfast for Samantha May. Then I have to serve the staff that comes to the house, and I need to ensure that the whole house is spotless before the staff gets there, and then taking care of myself as well. At times, I didn't even have time to brush my own hair because I had to ensure that breakfast was done at a certain time and whatever I was instructed to do was done. And this day, I just felt like, I'm tired. I'm not going to walk an extra aisle to get mustard sauce. And then Samantha May called Mr. Stanford to inform him about this incident that happened. And then he called me the next day and he said to me that I will be on dry brown bread and water for the next 2 weeks. And under Samantha's supervision, I couldn't eat anything else. I love coffee. Took coffee away from me. I could have no luxuries. All I had to eat was dry brown bread and water. And after that 2 weeks, I weighed 48 kgs. And what was the excuse to the people as to why I was so skinny? It was she was in a fast. They said that I was in a fast. They put me in my room, isolated from everyone. I had to ask to visit my family. My grandmother died last year, and I had to wait 7 hours for a response from America so I can be released to go be in the comfort of my own family. All I wanted was to be with my mother, be with my family, and that I had to wait for 7 hours for that to happen. I literally cried myself to sleep most nights, and most nights I didn't even sleep. I couldn't sleep because of the fear that was instilled in me. If you don't do this, they would ask me, am I entitled to not do? Am I entitled to ask questions? He even once told me that I have no right. I'm not entitled to disagree with anything that he says. And if I have any questions, that I need to ask him personally and not ask it in the group. So to say that we were psychologically damaged is an understatement. Yeah.
I feel your pain. And I get angry just listening to you.
I remember the one situation. an electrician came over and he had to do some work. But before I knew that the electrician was coming over, Mr. Stanford called me and asked me if I could cook some breakfast for him and Samantha. And when I was getting ready to cook breakfast, there was a knock on the door and it was the electrician. And then before the electrician started, he said to me that the electricity is gonna be going on and off. So do I really want to start with the breakfast now? So then I texted Samantha and I said that we're probably gonna have to wait for breakfast because Wilfred is saying that he's gonna be busy with the electricity. And then Samantha didn't respond back, but there was a door to from the kitchen that separated where the two of them lived. So the door went open and it was Samantha. And she said to me, Apostle, I want to see you. So I went there and he asked me, he said, whose house is this? He said, why do you feel entitled to say when I should have breakfast in my house? He said to me, sit on the floor. Sit on the floor and then you listen to what I have to say to you. He said, you are not entitled to say anything in this house. You don't have a right to say anything in this house. And that day I mentioned to him, I said, why am I feeling like you're trying to instill fear in me? I said, and then he said to me, he raised his voice at me, and I said, please stop raising your voice at me. He said to me, this is how I am with daughters. I said, well, my father never shouts at me, so I don't feel like father and daughterly love here right now. That same day, he said to me that I would rather have someone cuss at me and speak truth to me than someone to just leave me alone. He asked, do you want me to leave you alone? I said, sir, why does this sound like it's apartheid all over again? I said, if you saying that you are a pastor, if you are an apostle, where's the love? I don't feel that you love me. People that could help me, he told me, don't speak to them. You're not allowed to speak to them. He kept me isolated so he can be in my ear, so he can program my mind, and so I can be a robot to his doctrine. So this is just a few examples of what I went through.
It's and I see some people asking, talking about Samantha. Is Samantha in a relationship with the apostle? Well, let me show you this. The apostle took a trip to Tanzania, a cruise. These are the documents from Cape Town to Tanzania on a cruise. This apostle, who's married to this woman, who lives in the US, and he is in Cape Town doing ministry, but he is now hanging out with Samantha. And he actually stayed in the same room with Samantha. They were booked into the same room. So then that should give you an indication of what's happening. How do you feel now, Shante?
I feel like I've been failed. I feel that, and I actually wrote Apostle a letter. And I said to him, he destroyed and he damaged every perception in me about the pastor, because he failed to pastor my soul. He failed me at 19 years old, and he failed me at 26 years old. So what we have now is a lot of damaged young people, people that's doubting that God is real, that's struggling to pray, that's struggling to trust ourselves. So the way I feel, sir, to be honest with everybody that's watching, I'm broken. I am broken.
You live in a very environment that is a cult, an environment that is a modern day slavery. He enslaved you guys physically, work, serve them. You are slaves. He enslaved you mentally. He denied you guys education. He denied you guys access to your freedom, your dignity was taken away from you. Your human right was taken away from you. And this is an apostle we're talking about. You know, if I was in Cape Town tomorrow, I would show up at that place, to be honest with you, because right now I'm angry. If there's anything that gets me really angry, it's justice. That's why I do what I do. And for him to take young people, 17, 19, they're there in their 20s, lost so many years. Are you back in school? How's your education like?
I recently left. I left about 4 months ago. So currently I'm doing an internship, but I am planning and I am in the process of getting back into university.
Oh, you want to study?
I studied BCom, accounting.
Okay. And for some reason, I think he picked some smart girls.
Yes, sir.
For some reason, he picked on smart girls. That's why you guys are out and speaking out today, because, you know, smart girls don't keep quiet. Ever, you know, no matter how long it takes, they're still going to speak out.
And the one thing that made me realize was the fact that he would always say to us that we are the Joseph of our family. And I questioned him on that. I said, if I am the Joseph of my family, why is it in 7 years that I'm unable to help my family? Because I've been with him for 7 years. And I'm not in a position to help my family. I said to him, if you're saying that this is for our training and development, why is it? He made a comment to me and said, I asked him if I can go for driving lessons. And he said to me, you're not free enough to get driving lessons. I asked him, I said, if you're saying that we're going to be millionaires, I said, why is it that I can't even save money? Because that's me then positioning myself to become a millionaire. But you don't even give me money to save up so I can become that millionaire. So I said, so I believe now that you are just making fake promises. He said, I live by faith. I said, you're right, you live by faith. But I work. I'm the one that runs your business. I'm the one that goes out at 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. selling cookies, making over 500,000 a year. And I have the proof of that. And who is living their best lives? Who is traveling to America 3-4 times a year? Samantha May. Who is getting her nails done while we're standing at the traffic lights? Samantha May. Who is getting their feet soaked while other young people have to go sit at day hospital, public hospitals, because of issues they have for their feet, because of walking and laboring for this work. So who is the real people standing for this work? Yet people were put out, evicted, have to live in shacks again. It's, I don't know, it's just so sad to me that we are here.
You know, I wish I have money. If I had money, I would just get a lawyer. Gonna look at. I myself, I have some cases, you know, because of people like this that are trying to shut me, you know. But we have to do something about it. We have to make sure that place is closed down. That's what that place deserves. We have to make sure that Samantha don't have no finances to go do her nails anymore. She doesn't deserve it. We have to make sure that this apostle, he should just stay in America for his own good. Because I would do whatever.
And that is our main purpose for doing this. We want people to understand that we are not against the church. We are not against anybody. But our biggest fear is that this would happen to another 19-year-old.
Yes, yes.
Our cry out is that this cult would be put to an end so not another young person has to sit at the age of 26-year-old and has nothing. That's our cry out.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are watching. If anybody wants to help, this is not the end of it. I don't just, you know, there are issues that I don't just want to have an interview and that's the end of it. Because I'm so passionate about this thing, sometimes I run it myself, so I'm not even going to begin to make commitment. But this shouldn't be the end of it. They're going to recruit another set of young people, innocent young people. 7 years later, they'll be crying the same way Shantae is crying and all our friends. And the fact is, this guy claims to be an apostle. They claim to run a church, a ministry. That is a shame. A big shame.
A crying shame.
But I salute you guys. I salute you guys for coming out. This is not the end of it, you know. How many people are left there? Is there anyone coming, Shantae? Thank you, Shantae.
Hi, good evening. I'm Joy
Yes.
Joseph, the elder.
You are an elder too?
No, I'm not an elder. I was in leadership.
Okay.
I say I was in leadership because when I started questioning things and I started challenging the apostle and I started speaking about things that I was concerned about within the church and within leadership and in terms of the apostle's instruction, I was put on ice for 5 years. So literally, I believe I'm still a leader, but not in Ambassadors for Christ World Outreach Ministries, because your voice gets taken away. Sometimes when I would speak, like Shante mentioned, someone spoke to her with regard to the fact that this could possibly be a cult. That was me because I was the one laying up at night and asking, is there something like spiritual manipulation? I was speaking to God. I was inquiring from God, even though you know the whole Jezebel story. I Googled, I looked for characteristics of a cult, and there's 9 on Google. I could identify with 8 of them, with 6 being the 9th one, which I don't know of. So currently that's where we're at right now. In the past year, COVID, when COVID struck in 2020, I think it exposed a lot of churches in terms of genuine care and love for the people. And ASC was not an exception. There was just absolutely nothing forthcoming in terms of giving to people or caring, reaching out for people, giving food hampers to people, even though they say they do. We live on the church property. They've evicted us. There's a court case currently, which I'm not sure that we can speak of, but we being evicted on a daily. Today being another occasion which we were served by the attorneys to evict us. There's so many people who have left the church. There's so many people who's hurt by the church. There's so many people who have spoken up and addressed the hurts because of leadership. But unfortunately, because the board of there's a board of directors, there's 4 directors, Elder George being one of them, Samantha being one, and 2 others. But as mentioned earlier on, he surrounds himself with people who hears him and hears him only. And as a result, these people are unable to hear the hearts and the cries of the people who are being hurt. We called for a special general meeting on 6 June, where the majority of our members called for a vote of no confidence in Apostle Joseph L. Stanford and the 3 executive members that's still hearing him. They derailed the meeting. The cops had to come because they would not allow the people onto the property. They would not allow the members into the church building, which we worked and labored for. The entire meeting was derailed. It was attended by the Human Rights Commissioner to observe, and they totally, the leadership showed such disdain and disrespect towards the people and towards any of the dignitaries that we invited. And as a result, we've not been able to get the leadership out. We have addressed them, we have spoken to them, they refuse to mediate, they refuse to speak back. Attorney letters is the only thing that they come back with to us. So they're not hearing the people, and to the extent where we have family members that's still in church, that's still in the church currently, who only hears the apostle. There's mothers of some of these young people who spoke earlier, who is not able to speak to their own children that they gave birth to, because Apostle Stanford mocked their children as enemies of the work and haters of the work. There's family members who were advised to take out protection orders against us, saying that we're threatening them and just so that they're not able to hear truth. People are blocking us. So
Go ahead. I'm listening to you. I'm just in the background. Can you hear me?
And when I speak of family members, that families are divided because of this ministry. Families have taken each other to court because of instruction. Samantha May is my elder sister's daughter. She's my niece whom I love. But somehow division and manipulation has messed up families within this church, where there's no moral guidelines. There's no people come up and pray against us. People come and put oil crosses on our doors on instruction, as if we are the Antichrist. But this is the way people believe. This is how people. Sometimes I think, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I know that I think one president said that I could possibly walk up to someone in broad daylight and bring harm to them and nothing would come of it. I feel that this is it. I feel that there's absolutely nothing that Mr. Stanford can do that his followers will not mark as immoral or ungodly or unbecoming of a man of God, because he has become a God to the people of AFC. We have made him a God because of things that he said to us. And so because we party to building up his ego, we are going to be party to breaking that down, because it's ungodly and it's demonic and it must come down. And so the only thing that we're waiting for is for this restriction that our president has placed on our country, so that we are able to call another meeting to get the devil out of the details. Because we are right now, our congregation is being held hostage with leadership who's not hearing the people. And there's absolutely no recourse. There's no person that we can call on. There's no higher than I except for God. And so people might ask, why are we doing this? We have followed all the processes. We have followed all the processes possible. And he himself has said that he refuses to mediate. So that's where we're at right now, sir.
I hear you. Thank you. Yeah, quite a lot to process. Quite a lot to process. Who is left? Is there anyone left? We have
I've got one more young gentleman.
Yeah.
I've got one young gentleman who also labored hard in this ministry. But if there's anyone, because we've spoken to so many entities within the government structures to assist us, we want to help deliver our people, and we are looking for help to shed more light on this, because there's people that's sitting in the benches that hears the apostle speak what he speaks hatred over us, curses us, and say amen to the nonsense that he speaks in the church benches. And I'm appealing to those people to hear from God and to go to God and inquire from God. And once again, just set the moral compass right, because it's God who died for us. It's Christ who found us worthy. We are, because he created us, he made us. I'm preaching and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to give over to Cameron.
Okay. Thank you. Cameron, we have just about 5 minutes. We've been here for almost 2 hours now. How are you, Cameron?
I'm good.
Great. So, how old were you when you got in touch with Ambassadors for Christ, and what was your experience?
So, I was 14 years old when I came to the church. When they actually moved into the new building that we paid off in 3 years' time. My experience, I was never one to work for the church or wanted to work, but because of his type of preaching that enticed me to come. And his sermons was more like the white man have stolen enough from us, and that the word job means you just overbroke. So basically, if you're going to go and get a job out there and fall into the system, you're going to become like an average young man and person. And he made us understand that this that we are doing now is something extraordinary, and that we're going to be millionaires. I understood it, that this is not ministry. To me, it was, he said it with his own mouth, that this is for us, by us. Fubu. And that's what made me to sell biscuit. And I'm talking to selling to a point where you won't care whether your life is in danger. I'm talking of selling in places where you prohibited from selling, in malls with security. They even sprayed some of our people with pepper spray, but they kept on selling. I'm talking to an extent where we actually wanted to do this because that was the mindset behind the work. And at the end of the day, it was very sad, because even from that money we made, we understood that there was people getting stipends, and it was different amounts. I heard tonight that they were getting paid 800 and 500 rand, and I was paid 2,000 rand. I mean, even my own mother, she's much more older than me. There's more older people that have families. They got 800 rand and needed to provide for family, where me as a young person, I got 2,000 rand. But as you can see, the mentality behind how things were done, it was just unethical. And then I decided to leave the cookie department. I didn't want to sell biscuits anymore because, I mean, we were working to a point where when we did road trips, you couldn't even wash. You had to wash in disability toilets. And I mean, that wasn't on because it was day and night. There was no break. And a road trip, we would do outside Cape Town, South Africa. It would like be the money we made was twice as much as we made here. So there was literally no break. We worked, and at the end of the day, the people just didn't benefit. And that's not it. Then I moved to the department where we made blocks, where they bought the land. There was literally nothing. It was a forest. And then we ended up making a road with our own hands, with bricks, stealing tar somewhere else, because the apostle made us understand that God has blessed us with it. So we need to step into the miracle. And I mean, it was that kind of spiritual talks that made us believe that we're invincible. And who are we? We are young people. This is what the man say, and he proclaims to be a true apostle. So we just follow the instruction. And if you didn't follow the instruction, you're seen as a demon. You're rebellious. You get hurt over the pulpit. If you're not happy, then you need to leave the church, because that's what it became at the end of the day, more business than anything else. There was even some, like I can personally speak of my mother. She was made the gesture that she needs to sell a house and come live at the church. There was many people that was also enticed to leave their jobs because at the end of the day, they would get UIF. And then there's only one person that controls the money. It's either him or Samantha. And I mean, that's the type of person he is. That's what his heart is after, to do business. After a while, I also heard that the man is gambling in casinos. And I mean, for an apostle, that is really unethical. For a young person like me that wants to aspire maybe to be an apostle one day, and this is what you're showing me, I couldn't agree, sir. And he's the type of person that brings division to families. Like my auntie, she needed a kidney because she had kidney problems. But my mother opted to give hers, and he told her, no, she's not your sister's keeper. Then he would use spiritual methods that these people in the church that you work with, that's your brothers and sisters, not those out there. So that was the kind of gestures he made. He even tried to hook my mother up with a boyfriend. I mean, come on. But just to have that sort of control over our people, that's the sad part.
Mm. 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 How do you feel about all that?
So I feel disappointed for number one, being lied at, because there's so many opportunities that I rejected to be like financially in a better position. Right now, I'm aspiring musician, but if I look at the opportunities that I turned down to work for the church, to work this vision, because he kept on reminding us that we're not going to do this for long. It's only for now, the season. He even gave a time slot to when we would get salaries. And I mean, when it came to that time, I asked him, where's the money? Then he said, just another few more months, sorting out stuff so that we can get paid. And when it came to that time, there just was no money. When I eventually got my stipend, I saved it up to go study further at the College of Cape Town for a diploma in business management. But I mean, after I stopped getting that money, I had to hustle my own way, just because I couldn't work for the church anymore. And I made my studies a priority. So I stopped getting that money. And I mean, that's how it worked. If the vision wasn't first priority, then you don't get looked after.
Did you hear any sort of abuse by girls or
Sorry?
some of the leaders there? Did you hear about abuse, any sexual abuse or physical abuse by some of the leaders there on girls? Did any of the girls confide?
So I know of people that was mentally abused and punished because there was this one girl that I dated in the church, and when they found out that we were even just sitting next to each other in a van, like with everyone, and then she would like get grounded for a whole few weeks. She couldn't even come to church. Her phone was taken off because of this. I even went to Apostle and seek counsel on like how can I end up being a husband, because that was the mindset to marry at the end of the day. But it just happened to a point where if he can't control you and then he doesn't approve.
Okay.
And Uncle Solomon?
Yes.
So far, the only thing that I've witnessed, the only people that family that prospered under his leadership is the Daniels.
The Daniels.
Yes, one of the leaders of the church. They can do whatever they want to serve because they have money.
Okay. The Daniels.
Yes. Greg and the niece Daniels.
Okay. And what sort of role did they play there?
They were founding members of the church.
Okay.
In Capetown, South Africa.
And they are still there?
Yeah. Part of the leadership.
So they are the ones sort of like protecting him.
Yes. Uncle Solomon, I had this one argument with Sister Denise where I was busy concreting the floor, and then there was a car in the way, and then I asked Elder George if he couldn't move the car, and then he told me that Sister Denise's husband have the car keys. And then I asked her, because I didn't have a cell phone at that time, I asked her if she wouldn't mind texting her husband to ask if there is a possibility that the car could be removed. And then her response was, who am I to tell her or to ask her? Am I in Parliament? She said it in Afrikaans, but I'm not going to speak in Afrikaans right now because there is people watching from overseas. But that was her words. I'm in no position to tell her, and if I want to act up or be rebellious, then she's going to send my bags packing, and then I can go home. That was her words. Because that time I was still living at the church.
Well, what do I say? Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we need to have it's been 2 hours now, and we need to have another set of interview maybe. But we need to sit down and look at how we can pursue this. Bye, Donkey. Is Wilfred there?
Uncle Solomon, I'm here.
Yes. Thank you so much for organizing everyone. I think we need to continue this conversation, you know. You guys have started something that is about freedom for so many people, freedom for the people who were here, and freedom for so many other people. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have been through that ministry and they've been broken.
Yes, sir.
And justice help in the process of healing. And justice is a major part of the process of healing. So we need to try to look for ways that we can bring healing. You said you've contacted the Sierra Rights Commission?
Yes, we did, yeah.
Okay, you gave your stories and everything to them?
Yes, sir, we went all the right avenues. Even before that, apparently we confronted the leadership as well, asking them obviously to mediate with regards to the concerns of the people and the injustice being done. But no response, none whatsoever. So
Yeah.
Obviously, it leaves us to obviously cry out, for help from other people as well.
I will follow up with the chairperson of the CRA Rights Commission, Professor Musome. I know him personally. I have his number, so I'm going to follow up with him because that would be a good platform to bring that sort of stuff. I mean, this is a cult that's being run.
Yes.
It's a pure cult. There's no God in there. People have been exploited. It was a camp, modern day slavery camp. Mental slavery, spiritual slavery, and physical slavery. That's what's been happening there. End of story. So we're gonna follow up on that. And if there's anyone watching now or would watch later that you feel you want to provide help to them, whichever kind of way, financially, legally, or anyone in government, or you're a media yourself and you want to have access to the story so we can blow it up more, please get in touch with me. That's what we do to charlatans. Get in touch with me. My number is out there. You can send me a message on social media or whatever. Please do that. Well, thank you so much, brother. Bye, Danki. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we must. Yeah, I'm just angry. That's all I can say now. And if there's anything that gets me angry, this kind of stories. That's what gets me angry more than any other thing you can think of. I hate injustice, especially when it's injustice that's done by people in the church. So Stanford must go. That's what it is.
Stanford must go. Yeah. That's
what it is. We'll try to make sure we see how we can get this story to like maybe ENCA, SADCI to them, and put the story together just like this, and blow it up. Just so maybe he's just gonna stay in the US. The guys who are here, they need to shut up. So let's keep the conversation going.
Yes, sir, definitely. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Guys, please, if you want to, I didn't know it was going to be like 2 hours. When you hear the stories of these young people, it breaks you. If you want to know you're a Christian, is when stories like this break your heart. Even if they were not taking advantage of our church, but they were taking advantage of anybody by any other person who they're not even Christians. It's wrong. Injustice is something that God hates with a passion. You can see it through scriptures. You can see it through Bible characters. From the Old Testament to the New Testament. And the lives of these young people, do you know Elsie's River? Do you know the kind of community that we're talking about here? We're talking about a poverty-ridden community. The best place for him to go and enslave people. He knew that. Promised them their dreams. America, you're going to get houses, proper houses, you're going to get whatever. Took advantage of them for so many years. Please, if you want to help in whatever capacity, get in touch with me. I would really appreciate that. So may the Lord just be with them, each and every one of these young people. Lord, we pray that you would encourage them in their brokenness, in their disappointment. Father, I pray that you would encourage them, give them hope, because hope keeps us alive. Hope draws us closer to you. So may the hope that you have, Lord, give it to them, Lord. We bless them for coming out and speaking out. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, guys. May God bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you. Please, if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do so right away. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'll be back here again tomorrow. But until then, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Psalm 23. God has set a table for two. One chair for himself, the king, and the second one, believe it or not, is for you. But of course, the enemy wants a seat at the table too. Anxiety wants a seat, envy wants a seat, worry and frustration want a seat. But don't give the enemy a seat at your table. Look up, go up. You're invited up the mountain of God. Move towards infinite power, splendor, love, and beauty, healing and restoration. When we gaze upon the Almighty, we are changed by the captivation. Empowered to take every thought captive in the battle of the mind. Shame is silenced by His glory, and our future redefined. So draw near to Jesus. The shepherd is good. Our God is faithful. Take the place prepared for you. And don't give the enemy a seat at your table.
Marriage. Of course, marriage is not your normal bump and flace kind of relationship. It brings both excitement and disappointments. If you find yourself married in community of property and often delayed in your business transactions and dealings, worry no more. Because Masinya Attorneys uses the law to help you change from in community of property to out of community of property and vice versa. Call Masinya Attorneys today on 084 383 7747. We will sort you out with a high court application, and of course you get to keep your spouse. That's Masinya Attorneys on 084 383 7747.